Hey party people, I'm Sean Mullen from RampantDesignTools.com, and today I'm going to show you how to use the Rampant Zoom and Whip transition presets for Adobe Premiere Pro. That's right, these are presets, so I'm going to show you how to bring them in, and then of course how to use them. I'll walk through how to use our zoom ins like this, and of course our zoom outs. Of course it would have a slightly different sound effect. Come on people. And then we've got the whips. And I'll show you how to use our bonus effects as well. So there's quite a few little presets in this pack. It's got a handful of zooms and a handful of whips and some glows and whatnot, and so I'll walk you through it. But before we get to that, we are always asked, where do I find the preset and how do I bring it in? So real quick, let's go ahead and jump to the Finder on the Mac, Windows Explorer on the PC, and when you buy the Rampant Zoom and Whip Transitions Premiere presets, you'll get a zip file. When you double click and open that zip file, it will contain two whole files. One being the Premiere Pro preset file, which if you don't have this, you can't use it, and then a PDF file showing you very quickly how to install. So if you go ahead and open it up, the very first step, it's really hard, unzip the preset file. You actually can't see this step without doing it, so if you're reading this, you've come the right way. And then of course it shows you how to install it. If you have a question, you can fill out a support ticket or you can give us a call and we will gladly help you out. And then of course is the preset file. So how do I use this? Well, let's go back into Premiere real quick and go to your effects tab here and go to presets and right click and hit import. And when you hit import, it's going to say, hey, where do I find it? Go ahead and point it to where the preset file happens to be and click on open. And then you'll get this magic folder right here. Bing, Rampant Zoom and Whip Transitions, and you'll get all this whippy and zoomy goodness. Check all that out. So as you can see, we've got some tilt whips, we've got some whip pans, we've got zoom in, zoom out, spin in, spin out, and some bonus effects. I'm going to show you how to quickly use this in your edit and get you going and moving on. All right, so this was the singular most requested effect probably in the last 6 months. I mean, we are just getting constantly hit on YouTube about this effect. So cool, glad to know that you all like it, and yeah, let's get going. All right, so the very first effect we're going to show you is the zoom in like this. Zzz, whoop. And so you see a push in on both shots, and let's get going. I'm going to go ahead and just grab both of these clips and option drag it over here, start something new, and I'll put our timeline like so, in and out, boom. So we've got this nice little thing, and make sure I'll turn on a loop so we can just loop it around a little bit so it's nice and loopy. All right, cool. So we've got our two shots, and of course if you're like, hey Sean, you know, I don't have shots like that, it's literally as simple as just finding one shot and putting another one on it like so, and booyah, you've got yourself an edit, right? So that's all I've done. So we've got ourselves our edit real quick. We go from that shot to this shot, boom, boom, and we want to do a nice zoom in. Everything in this particular preset library is based on adjustment layers. So let's go ahead and go to our project window and make sure you click the project window. Every time I tell someone to use an adjustment layer, they're like, it doesn't work, I can't bring it in. It's because you're not highlighting the project window. You cannot invoke the almighty adjustment layer without being in the project window. Don't know why, but you know, that's how it is. So what you do is you go under File. Once you're in the project window, go under File, New Adjustment Layer. Bing, like so. And I'm just going to call it, I'm just going to call it right here. This is my adjustment layer. A lot of times we get emails like, how do I find it? It just throws it into your Premiere window or your project window here, so it can get confusing, so just make sure you label it something that you like. Okay, so now that we've got an adjustment layer, just bring it over here and we'll just leave it anywhere for now, okay? Go back to your effects window and make sure you're going through the Rampant Zoom and Whip Transitions folder, and let's just start with the zoom into like we talked about. The cool thing about these presets is when you roll over it, it tells you what to do. So right here it says put this on an adjustment layer above the clip that you are transitioning to. I try to make these things as clear and concise as possible. So it says I have to put this on the shot that I'm going into, right? Okay, cool. So that means that this adjustment layer only goes into the second shot. So let's go ahead and cinch it up like this. And I'll just shrink it down just a little bit. Doesn't need to be that long. All right. And we'll just drag part one onto this adjustment layer. Boom. You're like, hey, that looks weird. Don't worry, we're halfway there. Literally a two-step process. Go back to your project window and bring in another adjustment layer. You could have duplicated, but I'm just trying to show a nice clean workflow that doesn't involve anything crazy. And go back to your effects and highlight part 2, and part 2 will tell you put this on an adjustment layer above both clips. Well, that's easy enough, so I'm just going to highlight this, and I'm going to hit -6, and I'll tell you why in a second, but it's just basically cinching it up over both shots. So if I zoom in just a little bit, you've got adjustment layer number 1 right above clip number 2, and adjustment layer number 2 over both, right? Of course, I have to drag part 2 onto my adjustment layer like so, boom, and there you go. So if I roll it back and I hit play, what? It's done. It actually took longer for me to explain it than it did to do it. Now I'm gonna tell you a couple things. It's awesome that we're doing a lot of stuff in Premiere nowadays, right? We get more requests to do things natively in Premiere than we do in After Effects. There's always a trade-off, though. Premiere is an editor and not a compositor, so we're doing lots of heavy compositing in Premiere. Therefore, you're probably going to get lots of nice little red bar goodnesses, which is not a word. I know goodnesses is not a word, so I don't, it's just my words, so just leave me alone, people. So what do we do about this? Well, you're gonna have to render. I have a pretty poor run-of-the-mill iMac. It's got a pretty average video card. If you don't have a souped-up video card, you'll probably have to render. It's really not that big a deal. Just hit the return key and let it do its thing. But as you saw, it was previewing on its own, right? So, and it doesn't take that long. See? So there you go. And now you're going to see one little issue where it's like, bloop, hey, what's that? Bloop, hey, what's that? Bloop, hey, what's that? Bloop, hey, what's that? It's Groundhog Day. So what do you have to do? You just go over here, and right where the adjustment layer 2 ends, go ahead and cinch up adjustment layer 1, like so. And then when you go over here, oh hey, it's no more. So there you go. And if you scroll through, you can see you've got your smooth zoom in here, and then it edits, and then smooth zoom on this second shot. Now, of course, if you want to make changes, let's go ahead and explain what exactly is happening in each adjustment layer in your part 1s and your part 2s, okay? Your part 1 for all of these are pretty much the same. So just go ahead and highlight this, hit Shift 5 if you don't see your effects controls, and let's just dig into this real quick, just so you can see how the burrito is made real quick. This is literally just a couple filters. This is just turning the shot into a grid of 3 across and 3 down, so 9 total clips. And then we're doing a mirror, which is giving you a nice smooth edge. So if I go ahead and, well, if I just turn off this layer here, you're going to get this right here, this kaleidoscopic effect. Our actual shot is here, and as you can see, there's nice little smooth edges here. That way, when you're doing the move, you're not seeing frame lines. That's basically all this is doing. There's this whole gobbledygook just to remove frame lines. So when you're doing a zoom, you don't see hard edges. Okay. So that's that. But if you want things to take longer, in other words, if you want this move to go slower, go ahead and turn on this adjustment layer again. So we're back to where we were, right? So you've got the zoom. And I'm going to show you how to manipulate this. I don't hide anything. I don't bury anything. So no matter what I've created for a Premiere, whether it's our lower thirds or our presets or our templates, you can drill in and find all of my animation work and you can change it, right? So right here, I showed you what's on layer 1. Layer 2 is just the animation. So I've separated everything out to make it as clear and concise as possible. This right here gives you the extension of the shot, and this right here is the animation. No big deal. So up here, when you highlight layer 2 and you hit Shift 5 to get you to effects controls, here's the animation. It's only one set of keyframes. I'm using the scale animation here under transform. Right? Remember, it says zoom into part 2. And all you have to do is if you want it to go faster, pull the keyframes in, and if you want it to take longer, pull the keyframes out. Just remember that it'll take longer, and your render time will increase just a little bit. See? So now it's a shorter, or excuse me, now it's a longer zoom. So just because my timing is different than the timing you might want, it takes 2 seconds to change it. All right. So now I've shown you how to do the zoom in, right? Let's go ahead and take a look at the zoom out and see how it's slightly different. But now that you've seen the workflow, everything is based off of a 2 adjustment layer process. And the great thing about that is if you wanted to move things around or put it on a different edit, you can. So once this animation is done, which it is, right? You just have a different edit over here, right? You're like, la la la, that'd be so great if I could just copy this, but I don't want to do all that again. I don't like doing this stuff. Okay, it's okay. Once this is done, just option drag it over, and booyah, it'll work on any clip. Well, I gotta make sure I turn off loop or include this in the loop. So we go, see, there you go. So you can click and move this anywhere you want it once it's built, all right? So you could add these presets to your footage, but why? If you put them on adjustment layers, you can move things around and have ultimate control over your timing and not affect the footage below. All right, so let's go ahead and delete this, and let's show you how to do a zoom out, which is slightly different. So this was the zoom in, and now we're going to do the zoom out, right? All right. So as you can see, if you look at things like I like to look at things, you'll notice something. This is the zoom in animation and this is the zoom out, right? So it looks like it's the same kind of workflow, just with things moved around, right? So part 1 will be over clip 1 and part 2 will be over both, versus part 1 being over clip 2. Now, I know that sounds confusing, so I'm just going to go ahead and build it, right? All right, so let's go ahead and grab ourselves some footage like this. And I'll just option select it over, and we'll go right here. Okay, moving on down. Here we go. Zoom it in. All right, so we've got our regular edit like we've always had, and we want to zoom out this time. So let's go ahead and first let's grab ourselves our adjustment layer. I'm going to use the one that I've declared as mine, right? And let's just pretend I don't remember where this is supposed to go, even though I'm the one who made these. And let's go back and ask the preset what I'm supposed to do. So I want to zoom out, right? So let's go to zoom out, and let's just highlight over this. And it says put on an adjustment layer above the clip that you are transitioning from. Oh, that's simple enough. So I don't want it to go over 2. I want it to go simply over 1. So I'll just cinch this up real quick, right? Like so, and zoom out number 1. Boom, right? Now let's go ahead and go back to our project window and drag in another adjustment layer real quick, like so. Go back to our effects and then highlight part 2. And then it says put this on an adjustment layer above both clips. Righty roady, we got that taken care of, so let's just cinch that up because I don't want it over everything. And that's that. And let's go ahead and put part 2 on top, like so. And roll it back and play. Now as you can see, I just need to cinch this up. But that's super easy to do. This was deliberate because I told you I like to put everything on adjustment layers, and some people are going to go, hey, why? Well, I'm showing you why. What if I put the keyframes on this? Well, you're not supposed to see the kaleidoscopic effect. So if I put the keyframes on this layer, it would be very difficult to move around. So instead of doing that, I'm just going to grab both of these like so and just cinch it over. Right? And go like that. There we go. But I still want a little more. See, right here I'm only getting like 1 or 2 frames, right? And instead of extending the animation, I like the speed. Let's say I really like the speed, but I really want a little bit more on her side, right? No problem. Just highlight that layer and do +2, right? Let's do that. Cool. Now, of course, this always has to be overlapping, so let's go ahead and just cinch this in like so. There we go. Cool. So all you have to do is make sure that you move your layer 2 over, and just make sure that wherever layer 2 happens to be, you've got layer 1 underneath it. See, no big deal. All right. So that's how you do a zoom in and a zoom out using the Rampant presets. So what else is there? Well, there's some whips, and whips work just a little bit different than the zooms, but not much. Now you get it. It's real simple. You've got one layer that does the kaleidoscopic effect, just like I showed you, so like that, and the other layer that does the transform effects right here, which allows you to stretch out the animation and change it like I told you. I need to tell you one more thing that reminds me. On all of these, on layer 2, on the second adjustment layer of all of these effects, if you go over here, you're going to see something that says shutter angle, right? If you want it to be less blurry on anything that you're doing with our stuff, the closer to 0, the less blur. So if I put 0 here, you'll have no blur, right? Well, that's kind of silly, but you could. If I do 180, which is half of 360, that's half as much blur as you can have. And of course, it's going to take a second to calculate, especially on my Mac. There you go. That's half blur, right? If you want the maximum amount of blur, go to 360. And there you go. So you have a lot of control. You can manipulate the keyframes like this, zzz, zzz, you know, undo, undo. And you can also manipulate the blur. All right, so let's go ahead and show you how the whips work. Let's go over here. So that's this. It's basically my answer to the How I Met Your Mother effect. And I know that's timely, but it's basically like they're in their apartment, right here, and now they're in the bar. Apartment, bar. You know, you've probably seen it 1,000 times in the show, and it's a quick way to do your own whip pan without shooting one. Whoop. All right. Whoop. All right, so let's go ahead and drag these clips over so I'll have a fresh edit again, and I'll go ahead and put in and out like so. So here's our edit. So good, right? So we want to do a whip. So let's go ahead and drag our adjustment layer. Yes, you can copy adjustment layers. You know what? Because this question comes up all the time, undo. If you have adjustment layers already in your timeline, you can absolutely use them again. So let's go ahead and highlight this one and option drag it over, right? And because I haven't read my instructions on how I'm supposed to use this, I don't know where this is supposed to go. But one thing I need to do is I need to highlight, anytime I copy an adjustment layer, I need to highlight it and delete all of the effects that were here before, because I don't know where they're coming from, right? So that way you're basically giving yourself a clean adjustment layer. So if you don't want to do that, or if you option drag and you forget, you're going to end up with a mess. So that's why I say it doesn't really hurt to just go ahead and delete this and drag a clean, so fresh and so clean adjustment layer onto your timeline. All right, let's go back over to our effects window. And under our rampant zoom and whip transitions, let's go ahead and do a whip pan left to right. Now remember, everything's part 1 and part 2. Got to do part 1 first, and let's just see what it tells us to do here. See, it says put on an adjustment layer above both clips. Cool, so I know how to do that. It's above both clips. I'm just going to drag it there. Boom. We've got that cool kaleidoscopic effect, right? And of course, I need another adjustment layer, so I'll just drag another one on here like so. Go back to my effects, go to part 2. And part 2 says put on an adjustment layer above both clips as well. We're like, oh, okay, well that's even easier, right? So I'll just go ahead and do that. So now I've got part 1 and part 2, right? And let's just go ahead and cinch all this stuff up and drag it maybe like that, right? And we'll see what happens. So it looks like, okay, well obviously I need that to happen like right here, all right? So let's go ahead and just drag that over like that. That's no problem. And as you can see, this is using a lot of horsepower, and basically I can't preview it. So you have one of two options. You could lower the resolution, go here, and just do half and see what happens, right? See if that works out. That's better, right? Or if you don't want to look at lower resolution because you might have a client who's like, oh my goodness, this looks like web video. What are we working on here? You know, I thought I paid for real video. You know, okay, fine. Let's go ahead and hit return and render real quick. It only takes a few seconds. And like I said, I have a pretty much an ancient Mac here that I'm using. We try to work on old gear to make sure that things work relatively smoothly. But again, you're using Premiere Pro to do a lot of compositing, so this is really all based on your hardware. But it should only take a few seconds, as you can see. It's like zzz, 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 and boom. So there you go. Boy, that was hard. So that's how you use our whips, right? Cool. And you're like, wait a second, Sean, you told me you were going to show me one more thing, right? Right, I did say that. So the last thing I want to show you right here is this glow. Now, Premiere doesn't have a lot of great glows built in, but we just come up with a way of using the native tools to give you this very same effect, and you can add it straight to your timeline. Now, I recommend all the bonus footage. If you go over here to bonus effects, I recommend putting the scanline or the glow on a third adjustment layer. Now, you can put it on whatever you want, and you can figure out what works best for you, but I find that putting every effect on a separate adjustment layer helps the order of operations with Premiere. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. But if you cram everything into one layer and then you write me like, dude, it doesn't work, that's probably why. All right, cool. So let's go back to our zoom transition right here, right? So we have this nice little zoom transition that we had before that we just built. And it goes zzz, zzz, right? So let's go ahead and grab one more adjustment layer, put it on top like so. And of course I'm going to cinch it in like this. And maybe something like that, right? Go over to our effects, and under bonus effects, twirl it down if it's not already twirled down, and grab zoom and whip glow and put it on top of your third adjustment layer there and hit play. And there you go. Now when it comes to the glow, right here, Shift 5 will get you to your effects controls. Right here is the glow, and it's labeled it zoom and whip glow additional effect. Right here are my keyframes of intensity. If you want to drag it out, this is the first keyframe, this is the second keyframe, and this is the hot point. Go ahead and manipulate the keyframes however you want. I'm going to let you know this though, make sure to add this onto a much longer adjustment layer than these because the glow takes longer. It starts and gives you a nice little after effect. If you cut it off, like you would the other adjustment layers, It's going to go flash plop, flash plop. We don't want that. So let's go ahead and just drag that out nice and neat. And like I said, if you want to adjust it, right here, Shift 5. So everything's adjustable. All the keyframes are there for you to tweak. And of course, if you like what you've done and you've made changes to ours and you want to save it for yourself for later, just go ahead and highlight the changes that you've made. Like for example, this would be transform zoom into part 2. Right click and hit save preset and then label it something so you know what you're looking at, right? So it'd be like Joe Bob's awesome addition to the Rampant stuff, whatever you want to call it, right? So that's it. That's how you use our Rampant Zoom and Whip transition presets for Adobe Premiere Pro. You know what? I got nothing but mad love for you. And because you spent your time with me, and I think your time is valuable, I'm going to go ahead and give you a coupon code for any of our Premiere templates or presets, including this preset right here. So go to premieretemplates.net. And this is the Rampant Zoom and Whip transition, but this will work on everything. Go ahead and for a coupon code, go ahead and enter Run Rampant. That's RUNRAMPANT, and you'll get 20% off. These are already super cheap, but why not take 20% off because I love you, you know? And that is that. We're trying to make this quick and simple. If you have any questions, go ahead and hit us up, either here on YouTube, leave a comment, question, like. Of course, we run on love, so if you do like this, please like, comment, and share. We love hearing from you. And please, please, please subscribe. You know, we got nothing but love for you, and we're always trying to make valuable tools that help you make better video and training as well. And, well, we run on love. So thanks so much for your time. Once again, I'm Sean Mullen from RampantDesignTools.com, and I will catch you later.